You're listening to This Week in South Baltimore, brought to you by SouthBmore.com.
Kevin, what's happening, my man? We are back another week of This Week in South Baltimore. It's been a few weeks since we last talked. What's been going on with you, man? How you been doing?
Doing well, a little bit relaxed. Had some beach time, but it's always about South Baltimore, so I'm ready to get back and talking about the latest and greatest.
I hear you, man. I've been away a couple weeks myself. I'm doing this podcast remote today and trying to get a little chill time. And as much as I love South Baltimore and love our neighborhood, sometimes you got to step out for a little bit of sanity, especially with the kids.
Yeah, God bless that high-speed internet. Makes a lot of things possible these days.
I have to first give a shout out and say thank you to all of our new subscribers and those of you that are listening via iTunes and Pandora and Spotify, etc. I want to thank everybody who's been listening and tuning in, and would like to open it up. Kev, where could we send folks? Let's talk about how we got all these people listening to us on the podcast now. Would love to hear more feedback and kind of grow the show. And
yeah, that'd be awesome. You can find me on Twitter at SoboKevin. Feel free to tag me on Twitter. Let me know what you want to hear on the podcast. You can email me, Kevin at inceptmm.com. That email address is always linked to our website, so feel free to email me. Feel free to message southbeaver.com on Facebook, or check in all of our ways to get in touch with us. And we love to know what your questions are, what you'd like to hear about on the podcast. But we're really thrilled about our very solid growth in listeners. So let us know what you want to hear.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. As we always do, let's talk about some openings and closings of some of our restaurants and businesses around South Baltimore.
Sure. There's always a lot of South Baltimore business news. And even when there's not a pandemic going on, there's so many storefronts. There's so many commercial spaces in South Baltimore. There's just constantly a revolving door of businesses opening and closing. We certainly hope that the closings are at a minimum, but there's always news. So unfortunately, Himalayan Bistro, a Nepalese and Indian restaurant that's been here since 2016, they are closing their 3,600 square foot restaurant at 1030 Light Street in Federal Hill. They had a really good Indian and Nepalese buffet. They offered lunch and dinner. So unfortunately, they are closing that location. But the good news is owner Danny Lamachain and his wife Kalpana, who run that business, they want to stay in the neighborhood. They want to find another space that's smaller. So they are out looking for another space to relocate Himalayan Bistro. I know we have a lot of real estate professionals that tune into everything we're doing at southbeamer.com. So if you know of any spaces that might work for them, certainly let them know. We'd love to keep them in their neighborhood. It's a place I've been a few times. Delicious Indian and Nepalese food. So hopefully the Lamachain family can find a way to stay in the neighborhood. But unfortunately for now, 1030 Light Street is no longer the home of Himalayan Bistro. Moving to McHenry Row, they're having some more closings, which is unfortunate. Fresh Cleaners is closing. That's a dry cleaners in the neighborhood. Did not get a statement from them about their closing, but you got to think during this pandemic, not many people are getting dressed up right now. So unfortunately, so many businesses, so many sectors of the economy have felt the effects of this COVID-19 pandemic. And certainly cleaners around the country are having a tough time, as we're probably doing this podcast in bathing suits right now. And then another closure at McHenry Row, Hair Cuttery, the parent company of Hair Cuttery, creative hairdressers, filed for bankruptcy in April. They had shut down this location of Hair Cuttery since the state mandated salons and barbershops shut down back in the spring. So they never reopened, and they won't be reopening. This is kind of a part of the fallout of that bankruptcy. And I talked to Jay Saperstein from the team of 28 Walker, who owns and manages McHenry Row. And he said they'll likely backfill both of these spaces with similar uses, probably another salon, another cleaners. Right now the vacancies at McHenry Row are up to 4. We also talked about the Urban Oyster closed in recent weeks. Also, World of Beer announced they weren't returning after the closure from this pandemic. So they have 4 vacancies right now. They're listed with KLNB. This is the first time in the 8-year history of McHenry Row they have several vacancies. Typically anything that's closed at McHenry Row has been quickly filled in with another tenant. So hopefully the team at 28 Walker will get McHenry Row filled up pretty quickly. They're one of the best retail developers in the city, as they also have Canton Crossing. So we'll see what happens there, but certainly unfortunate we're losing some businesses at McHenry Row, but also creates opportunity for new businesses that want to be part of that vibrant shopping center. Moving on to openings, sticking with McHenry Row, NovaCare, who had a physical therapy studio at Southside Marketplace, just a couple blocks away. They weren't able to come to an agreement to stay at Southside Marketplace, and their space was quickly taken over by ATI Physical Therapy. But now NovaCare has reached a deal with 28 Walker to open a space at McHenry Row there in Locust Point. And their space is actually going to be part of a subdivided space from Massage Envy. Massage Envy decided they didn't need as much square footage as they have. So part of their retail space will become the new home of NovaCare at McHenry Row. So NovaCare is looking to get that space open later this month, have a grand opening a little bit after that. So NovaCare certainly committed to South Baltimore and looking forward to continuing to be a part of the community. And then we have an exciting opening for the South Baltimore and Riverside community as Riverside Taphouse has opened at 1542 Light Street. This is the former home of Das Beer House. The team there did a really nice renovation of the space. It's owned by Ryan Kehoe, who's a former general manager at Social Pub. He's a veteran of the United States Navy. He's a neighborhood resident. He's brought on a team he's pretty excited about. Chris Canty's the beverage director for Riverside Taphouse. He's a neighborhood guy. He's worked at places like Wiley Gunter's. Justin Cox, a former manager at Social Pub. He's the new GM of Riverside Taphouse. And then Chef Bobby Bassett, who helped start the menu at a couple restaurants in City Dock area of Annapolis and worked many years in the hotel industry. They told Bobby to create a menu that's a take on bar food, and it's got some really exciting looking items like cheesesteak egg rolls and all kinds of fancy cheesesteaks, smash burgers, a big salad recipe. All of their sauces are handmade. They do duck fat donuts that I got to try, which were really awesome. So a really, really creative bar food menu. And if you ever look at my bio on southbeamer.com, it says I'm a bar food foodie. So this type of menu is right up my alley. So really excited, really exciting menu there at Riverside Taphouse. The space looks great. Like all restaurants, they're limited to 25% indoor capacity right now, but they have a nice amount of tables there along Randall Street for outdoor dining right now. So they're really excited to get open. They were hoping to open that for March Madness. And then obviously things happened, but now they're open now and they're off to a great start. And then one other new business, as Charles Street sees a lot of storefronts getting filled these days. Another one is opening is Patorco. This is a CBD hemp and natural products store, which is opening 1132 South Charles Street. This is the former home of the boutique Punch. Patorco is a CBD hemp and natural products store. They sell a lot of different products like creams and balms and soaps and hemp that's that you can smoke. They sell smoking devices. They sell gummies. So really, it's been interesting with southbeamer.com. I've never been a person that paid a lot of attention to marijuana / cannabis or hemp / CBD. So I've really gotten a big education on this plant, as we now have 2 cannabis dispensaries. Now we have Patorco, which is specializing in CBD and hemp. But certainly interesting to learn about the differences there between hemp and cannabis, as hemp is essentially the non-psychoactive cousin of cannabis, where you can get kind of some of those benefits of cannabis without the high. So it's been, I think like most people, you probably never heard of CBD a year and a half ago. Now it's kind of everywhere you look, as there was the 2018 Farm Bill that was passed by Congress and then by President Trump that really allowed basically a complete legalization of CBD, which has led to an explosion where not only you're going to see boutiques like Patorco opening, you're probably going into corner stores and all kinds of places that also have CBD. So certainly there's been an explosion of growth of CBD and hemp. And Patorco, it's owned by Hasib Akhtar, who's making his own products for Patorco. And he's really putting a lot of research in where he wants to make sure that CBD and hemp are as effective as possible, but also as affordable as possible. So he's putting a lot of work into that. And he's hoping this store in Federal Hill will be a great way to get a lot of good feedback on the products they're creating. And hopefully it can be a case where maybe they're wholesaling some of these products and opening up other stores. So another CBD business opens there on Charles Street, and you can go in and check them out and learn about a world of CBD that's really exploded a lot in the last year and a half or so.
And you said, Kevin, they're open right now?
Yes, they are. Yeah, they opened a couple weeks ago for a soft opening, and now they're there. And I should mention one other thing they have. They have quite the selection of organic teas from around the world. So certainly all kinds of plant-based products in there. So yeah, you can go in there now and check it out, have some tea, talk to Hasib and his team about this evolving technology and healthcare, and check it out.
That's very cool. And Kevin, it's funny, you said it best yourself a few weeks ago when we were talking about how here in South Baltimore area where we don't just always get one business, right? Like all of a sudden we never had any, poke bowl places, right? Now we have 3-4 of them. We never had any great quality ice cream places. Now we have 3 or 4 of them, right? So here it's the same thing with the CBD and hemp products. It's, we never had any of that. And now we have 2, possibly 3 locations, but that's awesome to hear. Unfortunately, COVID is causing disruptions everywhere, but we have a few cancellations we have to announce to everyone.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you think of this pandemic going on, there's probably not an industry that'll get hit harder than the event industry. And we're certainly seeing that in Baltimore as Light City, which has become such an exciting event for the city, for many different neighborhoods that are participating in it. That event will be canceled for the next 2 years. So that's really unfortunate. And then that event paired up with the Baltimore Book Festival, and that's going to be canceled for at least 1 year. So unfortunately, 2 really big, exciting events that kind of united a lot of different neighborhoods together will not be happening. But, I guess we're kind of getting used to it. A lot of our favorite events have not happened this year. And unfortunately, Light City and Book Festival are joining that lineup.
So, Kevin, I know you got a couple of cool stories for us to share to kind of round out this latest episode of our podcast. What you got? Tell me a cool story, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple stories that show why we have a vibrant business community in Baltimore, because we have a community that just loves our small businesses. But Tiny Brick Oven, they described this COVID-19 pandemic as taking a massive hit to their business. They did a ton of late night business, selling pizzas. They're not a pizza shop that has a delivery option. So they really were dependent on people walking in there and getting some of their Neapolitan or New York style pizzas and eating them there or taking them as they walk away. So their business took a massive hit, as they were saying. And owner Will Fagg said, hey, we're having a lot of trouble paying our electric bill. It's $2,000. That was one of the bills that we wanted to delay, and it was time to pay it. And he reached out to his customers on social media, on his email blast, and said, hey, we'd really appreciate it if you came in and bought pizza this week. We need to sell about 200 pizzas to meet our goal. And it just led to an outpouring of support. He said they had their busiest weeks ever. They not only did people come in and eat pizza, but they also came in and started a pay it forward wall, where essentially you could come in and pay for your own pizza and then pay for somebody else's pizza down the line. So they could kind of get that income coming in now, and some people could cash in those tickets later. So really cool. If you walk in there, you see on the wall, on this board they have, you'll see these Post-it notes saying free pizza on me. And the owner, Will Fagg, just a very hardworking and creative guy who's really done a lot of fun things during this pandemic. He did pizza kits at one point. He hosted a soup kitchen on Easter for local homeless people. Well, he created portable hand washing sinks for people to use at different locations around Baltimore. Well, now his idea is, we have all these prepaid pizzas. Let's kind of do a soup kitchen for the homeless where they can have pizza. So he's going to host an event one night where local homeless people or local people that just need a meal can come in and have some pizzas. So just an awesome example of people helping people helping people. So I love that story. Yeah, then another story, Ice Queens, which one of their owners, Deja Kabia, is African-American. They had some damage to some of their signs outside, and there were some racist comments hurled their way. So they were asking for support to help pay for some of those signs that were damaged. And it really led to a huge outpouring of support to show support for their business and also help them have some good days of business to help pay for some of the damage. So not only did the Locust Point and South Baltimore community come out strong in support of Ice Queens, but also a lot of people from around the city, a lot of local politicians came out to support Ice Queens, and they had big lines throughout the weekend that it happened and the subsequent days. So certainly 2 great stories of South Baltimoreans and Baltimoreans seeing a business that needs a boost, and they gave it to them big time. So great to see. You can see why we have so many great small businesses in South Baltimore, because it's a place where we support them, we love them, and we really like it to be a part of our daily life.
That's awesome. What a cool story, Kevin. Thank you for sharing that. And 2 great examples there of how our neighborhood rallies together and helps out each other. And we're all in this together. Appreciate everyone staying positive and trying to be as positive as possible. It's not always easy, but we will get through this. And if our little podcast can be one little brightness in your day, we appreciate that too. So thank you very much. All right, everybody, we thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of This Week in South Baltimore. Make sure you like and subscribe our podcast. And Kev, tell people how they can learn more about southbmore.com.
Yeah, definitely come to our site, southbeaver.com. Check out our daily articles, our daily specials that we feature for local restaurants. Make sure to subscribe to us on Twitter and Facebook. Subscribe to our e-newsletter. So we appreciate the support. If anybody's looking to promote an event or a business or an institution or anything going on in Baltimore, South Baltimore, let us know. We have great opportunities for advertising. And please, when you see somebody advertising on our website, make sure to support them. They're really helping southbeaver.com maintain a great news site in South Baltimore. So definitely support our sponsors. They're so important to everything we're doing here.
You're listening to This Week in South Baltimore, brought to you by southbmore.com.